Hello and welcome to Reviews of Ryan, and today we're going to be talking about one of the most anticipated movies for I think mostly everybody this year. That is the action superhero film, The Batman. This film is directed by Matt Reeves, and he's done a couple films of the Planet of the Apes, and he's also done Cloverfield and Let Me In. And if you like movie reviews and Blu-ray hauls are in the right spot, hit that subscribe button, give the video a like, and comment below what are your thoughts on The Batman and how do you think this film measures up to the other Batman films that you have seen. And now without further ado, let's jump into this review. When the Riddler, a sadistic serial killer, begins murdering key political figures in Gotham, Batman is forced to investigate the city's hidden corruption and question his family's involvement. The film stars Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz, Jeffrey Wright, Colin Farrell, Paul Dano, John Turturro, Andy Serkis, and Peter Sarsgaard. So with The Batman finally being here and hearing all these really good reviews, is this film really worth to see? I can confirm that this film is definitely worth your time. Although I will say, going into this film, just know that this is not your typical kind of superhero film. You're not going to get nonstop action. There is action, of course, but it's very much in limited amounts. And when that action hits, it's really powerful. There's some really good action when that does come about. The soundtrack in this, it's absolutely fantastic. This is one of the best soundtracks that I've actually heard in a movie in quite a while. I thought that they did a really good job capturing the Batman and capturing this dark, trashy kind of Gotham. I really thought that they really painted a really good picture of Gotham in this. The film is also probably about 80%, 90% in the dark for most of the time. It's not really in the daytime at all. And they just do a really good job of showing Robert Pattinson as Batman. I do think, though, with him being Bruce Wayne in this, he's not really Bruce Wayne that much. But when he is Bruce Wayne, I do think that he's a little bit weak in that point. But I think him as Batman overall, I think that he does a really good job portraying this character. Especially in certain fighting scenes, the film can be very violent. This is not your typical kind of friendly kind of superhero film where, you know, this good guy, he is just represented and made out to be this big old hero. He's really trying to prove himself in this kind of role that he's in, and he hasn't been Batman for very long in this kind of portrayal of Batman. And I just really like that we get this ground up story from him and just showing him just kind of climbing to the top, because this is definitely a built up kind of story. It's a very slow burn kind of story. I thought Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, I also thought she did a really good job as well. And I really liked the pairing with her and Robert Pattinson. I think they really play off of each other. They kind of have this awkward relationship throughout the film, but they do a really good job of blending these two together. And I really like that they actually gave a little bit of a story to Zoe Kravitz. She's not coming from a background that actually is from the best background. And I just really like how they build up her character in this. And I also like the Penguin in this. He has some comedy in this film, but the film really doesn't have a lot of comedy. The tone in this film, it's very serious, it's very dark, and it's very much played out like a mystery. And that's where I get to the villain in this, Paul Dano. I really was kind of worried about him being the villain in this. I just didn't really know really much about him. I did see that he's been in a few films, but really I just didn't know what to expect out of him. And honestly, I really would pair him up with Heath Ledger as the Joker. I really thought that he did a phenomenal job in this role. I really thought that when he has this character, he's really creepy, he's really scary, he's in these different roles where he's just not playing around in this movie. And I thought they really portrayed him really well. They really have a mental sickness with his character. You can really tell that he is definitely someone that really hasn't had the best upbringing. And he definitely is just really playing his role to a T in this. And I really think that he is just having fun with this character. And you can really tell in this film that he is just embracing the character and really trying to come up with any negatives for this film. I have a couple. And the first one I have is Andy Serkis as Alfred. I really think that they really didn't flesh out his character enough for me. I really don't think that he gets a lot to do in this film, and that was a little bit disappointing. So that was definitely one of the negatives, and it's kind of a small negative. It's not really a big thing that's going to take away from the film. I also thought that the runtime, it's a little long for my taste. I thought it was just a little bit too long, and I don't want to say it wore out its welcome, but there were some pacing issues. There were definite times, like in the maybe middle of the film, where it felt a little bit too much, and I was like, all right, let's move it along a little bit more here. But this really does play out like a slow kind of mystery. And the Riddler in this, he really is trying to make Batman be the detective in this. And it was just really cool to see something different for a superhero movie for a change. I also have more of a, I guess, a wish rather than a negative, but I do wish that we got more scenes with Robert Pattinson as Batman kind of fighting off different guys and having a little bit more action. That would have been really cool. But I also think that the reason why they didn't do that is they're really trying to build up his character and really show you where he's at, being as he is kind of new at being Batman. So I think going into the next film, I think that we're going to get a lot more action, and we're definitely going to get more of this atmosphere. And I really hope we do, because the atmosphere in this movie is what really kind of shapes this movie, along with the soundtrack as well. And there is one really cool shot that I do want to point out in this film that I've really liked. And this is a part where he's kind of being chased by the cops. And I'm not going to give away anything else, but he jumps off this balcony, and it was a really cool shot with him flying. I really like that scene and just the music that went along with it. I don't know, it just was a really cool scene for me, and I just really like this whole lighting that they use in this film. I do want to say that if you really don't like flashy lights in this, there is a lot of it, especially because this film is a darker film and it's not lit very bright, so the color palette, it's very dark, so there is a lot of flashy lights, and I just want to warn people of that. If you're not really into that, there is quite a bit of this in this film. And wrapping up my thoughts on this, guys, this is a really good film. I really think this is the best film that has came out this year so far, and of course we have a long year ahead yet. But I really think this is worth a watch, and I'm going to give a score of this film a 4 out of 5. I think it's very interesting because I went to go see this movie with my wife, and she completely hated this movie and gave it a 2 out of 5. So I think it's really interesting that our opinions were very different on this film, because she is more so a Marvel kind of junkie, and I'm more so on the DC end, although I do like Marvel films, of course. But I just thought it was interesting that our opinions really differed on this film. She really thought that this film was too slow for her taste, and she wanted more out of it. And I think there will be people that won't like the fact that this is not kind of your typical kind of superhero film with less action. So yeah, I'm really interested to see what people's opinions are down in the comments. Did you really like this film? Did you enjoy it? Did you think it was amazing? Did you think it was worth the score that I gave it? 4 out of 5. I just really like this film. I don't think it's necessarily a perfect film by all means, but I really did enjoy it. Thank you guys for watching this review, and I'll see you guys on my next one.